I think I'm not operating from the first dimension anymore. I think I'm
Mm,
operating from the third dimension. I think I'm operating from heavenly kingdom principles.
come on.
Everything that I do now in business, to me, has to have an impact on the kingdom. And that doesn't mean money. Like,
Right.
I want to be very clear about that. Like, I used to hear that stuff, like people say that stuff, and I used to think money. Like, oh, okay, like you're just gonna make more money to like give to more stuff. Yeah, part of it. But it's also like it needs to, like, my actions need to be excellent, and they
Mm,
also need to be honoring of God, right? That way, when the conversations open themselves up to what is the most important thing,
yeah.
which is to me evangelizing in the marketplace, right? Building
Mm,
relationships with people that I wouldn't typically have a relationship with to evangelize in the marketplace. That opportunity presents itself because more than anything, what I've learned in 9 to 10, like 9 months taking off of work and doing ministry basically as much as I possibly could, was
yeah.
I care about souls.
John, you're an entrepreneur, you're a sales expert, speaker, host of Jesus in Business podcast, you're an author, philanthropist, so much more, man. Such an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for your time, dude.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you for having me on.
I kicked the show off by going back a bit. You grew up in New York. What was childhood like for you?
Dang. Yeah. Childhood. So I think things are pretty status quo up until roughly 10 years old. Had both
Okay.
my parents in my life, had a younger sister that's 3.5 years younger than me. Um, and yeah, I just remember life being pretty good. Like I was definitely into sports, very, very competitive, had the entrepreneurial bug pretty early, like was decided to mow lawns and I was doing push-ups at like 6 years old, 8 years old.
Come on.
And so I think my dad instilled some really awesome values that he
Hmm.
learned pretty young, and it's interesting because he was never an entrepreneur, but like he had me start businesses very, very early. And then roughly 10, 11 years old is when finances really became an issue amongst my
Hmm.
family. Um, we ended up losing everything,
Wow.
losing the house. We had the cops there basically every weekend
Wow.
over different arguments regarding finances. And I just
Hmm.
remember the one thing I can remember about all the conversations was that it was about money.
Wow.
And it became physical and loud at different times. Obviously to lead for the cops to be there, but I just remember
Sure.
being in a place where I was the older brother and I had to protect my sister.
Hmm.
And so I think very, very early, I took on responsibility of dad. I could never be my dad, right, in that
Hmm.
moment, but I took
Right.
on the weight of be my father, protect my mother, protect my sister, etc. And I think that led me eventually to not speak to my dad for quite some time, for 6 or 7 years,
Hmm.
and had to do a lot of work there for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
But it also brought me in this place of a lot of anger
Hmm.
and acting out. And so I got into in like middle school time, I got into places where I shouldn't have been. Like I was, people used to tell me like I wasn't a bad kid. I was just really hurt.
Hmm.
Like I had a good heart, I was just really hurt. And so I got
Yeah.
to places where I was fighting, where I was stealing, where I was causing tons of mischief, getting suspended from school, etc. Um, and yeah, I went through a really, really angry season. And I'm fast forwarding a little bit here. You can dive in where you
Sure.
want to, but
Yeah.
yeah, but then 2 or 3 years went by. My mom is setting up this new life for us where it's like, cool, we lost our childhood home. She's going into debt to like rent out this nicer place to build like the second family type of
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
so she had a beautiful heart behind it, was working her tail off.
Hmm.
We had this beautiful ranch in New York and it was near we're renting. But it was close to the water. Hurricane
Yeah.
Sandy comes one day and floods us out. And we stayed because the hurricane before that, the year before that, was like, it was going to be horrible. And it was
Yeah.
like, not bad at all.
Yeah.
And so it was like the second time we lost everything.
Wow.
We were bouncing around from hotel to hotel, sleeping at friends' places. We didn't have shelter, which was wild. I mean, we had shelter, but we were
Sure.
constantly having to coordinate what shelter looked like.
Yep.
And I'm not going to school because we're all in a hotel out hours away, towns away.
Wow.
And we finally, through a connection through a football friend's uncle. He had a property in the same town on the edge of my town to allow me to stay in the school district to continue playing football, etc.
Yeah.
That was my mom's heart. Like I don't want to rip my kids away from their friends
Right.
and what they do. And it was horrible. Like crickets, mold, like rats, all sorts of things.
Oh my
Um, we
gosh.
and we ended up living there for 7 years. But I got into this place of massive depression, suicidal thoughts, and just became a video game addict because I was like, life stinks. Like
Wow.
I,
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything besides curl in my bed and just cry and not go to school and all that sort of stuff and play video games because I was still competitive, but like I didn't want to
Sure.
deal with life. I didn't want to deal with reality. I wanted to deal with life inside of a game. So I
Yeah.
gave you a lot
Yeah.
there, but yeah.
No. Oh, it's so wild, dude. And it's funny, like as you were telling your story, it's very similar to mine. I have a sister who's 3.5 years younger. My parents were divorced when I was 10. Like I
Mm,
spent like 10 years of my life just kind of like wandering the world because I was angry and I stepped into that father position, right, man?
yeah.
A lot of similarities there. But in 2018, that's when you gave your life to Jesus while you were at college, right? Like what prompted you to take that step into that relationship with Jesus?
Yeah, so crazy little background context. I was dating this girl for 3 years, all throughout high school and 2 years of college.
Okay.
We decided together to go down to Florida Atlantic. Not the smartest move by any means of the
Okay.
imagination.
Yeah, sure.
Shows I didn't have the guidance, but we ended up breaking up before we went. So basically I went even knowing that she was going to be there, and like I was like, I'm going to give it a try. And
Yeah.
that was a big risk for me because I didn't have financial help. Like it was like I was signing my life away, 13% loans. Like it was a
Wow.
lot. And so it was a big risk for me, and I knew that. But I thought about myself on my deathbed. Would I ever regret not trying? And so I was like, I'll try first semester, and if I hate it and it's not what I think it is, I will go back to New York and go back
Yeah.
to family.
Wow.
Anyway, so I get down, I finally get away from, not get away, but I finally am in a different environment other than my family. And I'm by myself. I don't have any friends. Like I'm trying to make friends. My ex-girlfriend's walking around campus. It was like a flood of emotions, new
Yeah, for sure.
environments. And so, I was weeping like daily.
For
Like
sure.
I don't know if I made the right decision. I don't know if I did the right thing. And so roughly 1 to 2 weeks went by and I stumbled across Joel Osteen's podcast.
Okay.
And there was something there that just got on me. And
Mm.
it was the joy of the Lord. It was like, whoa, this is like it's like personal development, but it's from the lens of the Lord. And I grew up Catholic, and so
Okay.
I had religion in my life,
Sure.
but I didn't have a relationship. And so I think what Joel really kind of gave me and imparted on me was the joy of the Lord
Yeah.
and wisdom in that season, even though I wasn't plugged into a church,
Mm.
or I wasn't around Christians. Something just felt different in my spirit. And I remember that time being one of the most joyful times of my life. And so I did the prayer of salvation at the end of a podcast, and I really started to look into like, what does it look like to walk with God? And then
Yeah.
I think for a lot of years I did it very lukewarm, back and forth.
Sure.
But that was kind of the beginning, at least, of my walk with Christ, from a relationship level rather than a Catholic level.
Oh, dude, it's so powerful, man. What a cool testimony, Joel Osteen, man. Like getting saved through a podcast. Come on, dude, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, being an entrepreneur though, like we eat top ramen, sometimes we eat like kings, right? Like, how do you stay spiritually grounded while navigating the highs and the lows of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I think I'm reminded of this scripture, and I'm going to pull it. Philippians 4:12 through 13. I know what it is to
Okay.
be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, and I can do all things through him who gives me strength.
Yeah.
Um, and so for me, I think, we all know Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, right? We
Yeah.
miss what Paul is writing in 12. I believe that entrepreneurship is a series of highs and lows.
Hmm.
Um, I also, and that's external, right?
Right.
That's the things that are happening around us. That's what maybe looks like financially. Maybe that's what it looks like, employees leaving or whatever it might be. But I believe, like, as Peter steps outside of the boat into the
Yeah.
raging waters and into the chaos, as long as he has his eyes set on Jesus, the storm has no effect on him.
Yeah.
Right? So externally, things are going haywire, they're difficult, whatever. As long as we pursue the thing that is the most important, we have reverence and behold the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I believe there's a peace in every season of life. There's a contentment for 12 in every season of life. So
Yeah.
high or low, my thing is like, how can I be like this with Jesus? Like,
Mm.
because my validation, my identity, my who I believe I am, it isn't found in the highs and lows of business, which it used to be,
Yeah.
but it's found in Christ.
Yep. Mm. Come on. So good, dude. That scripture, it's such a reminder that I've pulled out and reminded myself about and read throughout, especially the last couple of years. We've had some interesting struggles on our end, just in the financial side of things, but man, it's so good to just have that foundation of Jesus, because I don't think I could do this life without him, right?
Yeah.
Man, it's interesting being a podcaster. I talk with entrepreneurs and world changers and success minded people. And I used to have kind of an open free range of talking with people, but about 7 months ago, I just felt God saying, dude, I like what you're doing, but I want you to talk about more about me. And so I shifted the focus to talk to men about their journey with Jesus. And I found that there's Christians, or some Christians out there, really struggle to integrate their faith into their business because they don't want to be put into a box or come across as preachy or pushy. Like, what practical advice would you give to Christian entrepreneurs struggling to bring those biblical principles into their business?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think the first thing we have to look at is what lens are we looking at it through?
Yeah.
Because I can say that I was scared to bring the Lord into my social media presence and into my business conversations because I was looking at it through the lens of the world, because I
Yeah.
was looking at it through a lens of money is the thing that matters, or
Mhm.
how I seem matters, social media matters, right? Like fear of man type of stuff.
Yeah.
I believe when we have a true focus on the eternal, we have a true focus on making disciples of all the nations, and we have a true focus on giving God our businesses. That doesn't look like there's no room for that feeling. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
there's no room for the evaluation of like, oh, how does this make me look so I can make more or less money?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something, and I haven't shared this quite yet, but I've felt the Lord tug on my heart on this one. The way everything looks isn't always how it is,
Hmm.
right? And the kingdom is upside down. There's a
Hmm.
completely different way of being and succeeding in business than there is in a worldly standpoint. I strived for years. Did I make a lot of money? Did I save a lot of money? Did I? Yes, 1000%. Did I learn skills that were absolutely essential? Yes. Do I believe that I honored the Lord? Do I believe that I didn't even have, like, I had barely had friendships out of work. Like
Hmm.
it was work or nothing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, and this to lead up to this point is like, it never looks like what it seems. The
Hmm.
kingdom is upside down. I've invested massively over the last 9 to 10 months. With the Lord saying, and massively meaning like I am down $100,000 off of what I used to have.
Wow.
And I'll openly say that because I believe that helps somebody.
Sure.
That was hard for me as someone that had money as the idol on his heart, because my savings was my safety net and my protection, my security.
Yeah.
The thing that I had to wrestle with was, am I going to put my security in my savings, or am I going to put my security in the Lord?
Mm.
And I'm praying about this new thing that he's put on my heart that I really don't want to do, meaning the podcast, meaning take time off of work, etc. And I just had to put myself in a place where I trust him.
Hmm.
And I'm like, but Lord, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm a businessman. I understand how to make an offer, and I understand how to make to capitalize on all this audience and stuff like that, like to
Yeah.
be able to make the money. The Lord's like, no, I don't want you to sell anything. I'm like,
Mm.
you don't want me to sell anything. So you want me to do all this, but you don't want me to sell anything? Yeah, I want you to honor me. And I'm
Come
like,
on.
oh, okay. And so like that was like my journey is me having a deeper revelation of trust with the Lord and
Mm.
walking in what He wants me to walk in versus what I think I should be walking in.
Yeah, man. Oh, so good, dude. So good. Thank you so much for checking out the show today. Look, I want you to stay connected with everything this guest has to offer. So make sure that you sign up for my weekly newsletter. I'm not here to spam you. I'm here to just send you all the behind the scenes videos, shorts, reels from this week's guest, plus some other bonuses on there. So make sure that you hit connect below this video in the description or go to my website and sign up right there on the homepage, and I'll make sure that you stay in the loop. Thanks so much again. Have an awesome day. Keep changing the world. Man, as you were, I think once we surrender to Jesus, our vision for business changes, our vision for leadership changes. Like, how have you grown in your leadership since really having that revelation of just surrendering it all to Jesus and saying, I'm taking my, I want your will to be done, not mine.
Yeah, well, I think I'm not operating from the first dimension anymore. I think I'm
Mm,
operating from the third dimension. I think I'm operating from heavenly kingdom principles.
come on.
Everything that I do now in business, to me, has to have an impact on the kingdom. And that doesn't mean money. Like,
Right.
I want to be very clear about that. Like, I used to hear that stuff, like people say that stuff, and I used to think money. Like, oh, okay, like you're just gonna make more money to like give to more stuff. Yeah, part of it. But it's also like it needs to, like, my actions need to be excellent, and they
Mm,
also need to be honoring of God, right? That way, when the conversations open themselves up to what is the most important thing,
yeah.
which is to me evangelizing in the marketplace, right? Building
Mm,
relationships with people that I wouldn't typically have a relationship with to evangelize in the marketplace. That opportunity presents itself because more than anything, what I've learned in 9 to 10, like 9 months taking off of work and doing ministry basically as much as I possibly could was
yeah.
I care about souls,
Mm,
right? I care about
yeah.
people's relationship to God. Why? Because I believe that not only will they go to heaven, yes, 1000%, but like they will be able to walk in their God-given purpose and calling and experience the joy and peace of the Lord that they wouldn't have if they were
Mm,
just striving on their own. And I specifically, because I was the entrepreneur that did it his own way and went after all the things my own way and strive to make it all happen and make all this money. I believe that I did that based off of a lot of trauma and a lot of hurt, right?
mm,
Running away from something
yeah.
versus running towards something. Everything I do now is I'm running towards where God is calling me to do and be.
Mm,
And I believe that part of my call and part of what God is doing in the marketplace is like He's raising up a new generation of leaders. He's raising up a new generation of kingdom builders that actually honor Him and are not only successful by His hand and have favor in the eyes of man by His hand, but also generously, very generously give.
yeah. Oh, dude, I love this conversation, man. It's so good, dude. There's some people that are being impacted for sure on this. I love talking with other podcasters. You're the host of Jesus and Business. It's an awesome podcast. People need to be listening to this, man. And as I was listening to your episodes, you recently talked about God's timing and delay is not denial. And I know I've struggled with that throughout my entrepreneurship journey. Like, how can folks get through that frustration of waiting and feeling like it's just never going to happen, right?
Mm, yeah. Are you operating off of your time? You're operating off of God's time.
Yeah.
Do
Come
you
on.
want do you want you to increase or do you want him to increase?
Yeah. So
That
good.
was a very important, I think that's a very important revelation for me because there's tons of things that I feel like even God has seeded in me
Hmm.
that like the books, the devotionals, the businesses, like all that great stuff. Like and selling things via my platform as just as an example, right? There's a lot of things that he seeded in me, and what I've heard as I go through those things is like it's not the time.
Hmm.
For example, and a lighter one is like even as a podcast host, what I felt called to do by the Lord was interview people and uncover their stories. So much so, I wouldn't even talk on my own podcast other than ask questions and do an intro outro. I was the guy that always had something to say before that. And so
Yeah.
that was humbling. Like, oh, you want me to like just be quiet? Okay. going into, and then I went to a conference to end out the year at Upper Room in Dallas. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but
Hmm.
and I felt spiritually the Lord give me the green light to at least talk more.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, like your timing, not mine. I don't
Yeah.
care, right? Your business ideas, not mine, right? That to me is the difference. When the devotional or the book or the business does come out, right? I'm believing that it'll just have a different level of favor on it,
Mm.
and increase on it to where I don't need to be in a place of stress and anxiety and like, 16, 13, 14-hour days like I used to do, and do it in a way that is just like his hands on it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, so good, dude. One of the things that I was reading through your bio there, but like you've met your first real mentor while you were in college, a guy named J.R. Rivera who taught you the concept of the power of free. Like this sounds awesome. Like, can you deep dive into that concept and how can folks implement the power of free?
Man, well, I think the first thing was JR was a godsend at the time and still
Yeah.
is. I was just messaging him because it was his birthday 2 days
Come on.
ago. Anyways, I made a lot of money well, for my age, 18, 17, 18, 19, doing sales, doing alarm and oil sales, going door to door, cold calling, and then doing door to door, and then doing insurance B2B door to door. That was super fun.
Yeah.
But I made decent money. When I met JR, I was like, I want to like work from my laptop and do this thing. Like, what do you think I should do? Like, I want to make money from the internet.
Right.
I was one of those internet bros. I was hooked on that. Um, and he was like, you should totally work for free. I'm like, work for free? Like, don't I want to make money online. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, you should find someone that is doing what you're doing and doing it, or doing what you want to do and doing it successfully. And I thought that was e-commerce dropshipping at the time.
Sure.
And you should go work for them for free. You should put your pride, you should put your ego down, and you should not take any money. Like, go there, clean toilets, do whatever you have to do, and meet the people, learn the things. And so that was this revelation of like, okay, the people, the network, and the information on how to do it is actually greater than whatever financial resources can give me.
Mm.
And again, although I made money in sales, I was also paying my way through the first semester of college. And so I didn't have the cash to go buy mentorships and stuff like that. Like I was
Sure.
broke, broke, broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I hit up this guy, this e-commerce guru or whatever. He had a course and stuff like that. And he actually a godsend. Like he was in my town, and so I would go to college, and then a couple of days a week, and then I would fit in where I was the free intern at this small startup, and just the things that I was exposed to there, the things that I learned there. I mean, I was building paper towel holders like for the bathroom, like, and then I slowly got more responsibility as they're like, oh, we could trust this young kid that like is stupid enough to work for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's awesome.
that experience set me on what I would say a catapult in my career.
Mm.
Over 6 months, that company ended up shutting down. All the salespeople that were in office that I built relationships with, they needed sales jobs. They were all commissioned. They were high ticket closers, right? They all go to this other company, and they need to hire more people. And they're like, John, like, would you want to do this? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I've been in sales, obviously, but like, I don't like what just happened there. Like we weren't, providing a great service and all that sort of stuff. And I had this bad image of what that could be.
Yeah.
Um, and make a long story short, I ended up joining the company that changed my whole trajectory from a very, very young age, like financially being, in a decent place. So
Sure.
the concept of leveraging the power of free is letting down our pride, letting down our ego, right? And really getting to this place of lowliness and
Hmm.
being humble and
Yeah.
saying, I have so much more to learn. And even though I don't have the financial resources, it's possible. It is possible from a personal standpoint. And then I go into how companies use the freemium model to be able to leverage and build customers and all that sort of stuff, build their email lists, et cetera. Because it's like companies use it. Why don't we, and what I was at the time, a younger entrepreneur, going through college and stuff like that, that doesn't have
Sure.
any money, why don't we embrace this concept?
Totally. Yeah. Oh man, dude, what a cool thing. And I've heard that, hey, let me just come work for you for free because that is way worth more than like the small amount of money that you'd make getting paid just to do it, right? Oh, so
Totally.
good, dude. I love to finish my show with a fun question. I'm a music guy, so like, what kind of music do you like to listen to, or do you have a favorite band that you like to listen to?
Yeah, that is a fun question. Okay, so I'm weird,
Okay.
honestly. So I'm from New York, right? So I used to love my rap back in the
Okay.
day, and so I am on the Christian rap wave big time.
Okay.
Workouts in the car, whatever. Obviously, I love my worship music. That is like so good. So worship music is always really great. And then like this is where it gets weird. Is I'm very much into country music. Like
Okay.
I'll throw a dose of that on. And again, that is so opposite of how I grew up and what I
Sure.
know. But yeah, so I think it's a mix of like Jordan Davis, like Luke
Okay.
Bryan, Florida Georgia Line for country into a little bit of Morgan Wallen. I don't love all of his stuff, and then
Yeah.
mixed into like Christian rap, like Christopher Sincere,
Okay.
who nobody knows. A little bit of KB, a little bit of Lecrae. Yeah, I can go on and on about that. And then worship music is like Upper Room Bethel,
Yeah.
Jesus Image. Oh my gosh, like I was just worshiping the Jesus Image before this, and like
Come on.
I am on the Jesus Image wave, big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
so good, dude. I was a straight metalhead for a very long time. I mean, I was, Korn, Rob Zombie, Rage Against the Machine, and I graduated in '98. So, I was going to these all these awesome concerts. And then in my early 20s, I got a job with Universal Records, and I was just
Mm,
an intern. I was like, dude, I'll just show up. You don't have to pay me. I'll just show up. And I showed up for 6 months, 6 days a week. Didn't get paid a penny, but I got to hang around with, the rock star guys, and they're like, you actually have to listen to other kinds of music if you're going to work here. So like, they made me listen to country and rap, and I started to kind of open my eyes to other music. And now I'm all over the place, but still like to go back to my rock there. So
so okay, so what is yours right now?
right now, I really like a band called Hawthorne Heights. They're not a Christian band, but it was one of my emo bands that I listened to a really long time ago. But I'm a big fan of NF. Like getting into that. It's some of it is dark though, of
Yeah,
his lyrics.
yeah.
But I think over the years, I've come to like Sean Mullins, more chill sort of rock, folk music almost, and so I
Mm,
can. It helps me to kind of get into my day when I'm like trying to focus or I'm reading a book. I'll have like Tron soundtrack on, so it's just like just
yeah,
beats, right? That helps me
totally.
kind of get through the day. But I'm all over the place. Definitely go back to my rock roots. But I like my worship music for sure. I have to start the day off every day with worshiping, and then I'm reading a devotion every year. And so this year I'm reading My Utmost for His Highest, which I haven't read before. So really excited to do that. But man,
Super
John, this
sweet.
was such an amazing conversation, and such an honor to have you on, dude. You're an absolute world changer. Thank you so much for taking time of your day, man, and joining me on the show. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, brother. It's an honor to get to know you a little bit here, and again, just continue to build a friendship relationship, and um, just thanks for who you are and what you're doing, because I see the same mission and call on your life that I feel weighted on me.
Hey, if you've ever thought about starting a podcast but unsure where to go, you need to go check out ericalanmedia.com. Click on the resources tab there. I will walk you through how to start, launch, and run a podcast. I've recorded over 500 interviews since 2017, and I want to help you launch your podcast. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you catch every show when I drop them. Thanks again. Keep changing the world.